Hey, this is Sean Feeney. You're now tuned into the Growing Up Italian podcast.
Yeah, I know Williamsburg. That's it.
Williamsburg is fire. It's far for you, but let's say you're rolling. Okay, but like let's say if you had like a sick condo in Williamsburg on the water with parking, that's goals.
There's no better view of Manhattan. Like, and I'm a Jersey guy. Like Jersey City, Hoboken, awesome, but Williamsburg, looking at Manhattan skyline, there can't be anything better. Like, go up on top of that William Vale or the Wythe. It's greatness. Like, you literally can't. You see it from the south of. You could see the Statue of Liberty, and you go all the way up until you can't.
Like a lot of downtown, like
but you
Freedom Tower.
You see all the way up, until you can't see anymore. You could, on a nice day, I bet you can come close to seeing Yankee Stadium. Like, I swear to God, it's that perfect.
From William Vale.
From William Vale. 100%.
That's funny. We're like the biggest advocates for Williamsburg. But there's a lot of people that say Williamsburg's so overrated.
For what? Like, how is it possible? Like, what can they say it's overrated?
I guess rent and prices and that.
Rent is definitely overrated a little bit.
Yeah,
that's why I like moved out, because of like without paying for rent, I have a house with 3 bedrooms, pool, walk-in closet, 3 bed.
That's true.
You know, it's like so different. But then, like in the morning when it takes me 50 minutes to get here, I'm miserable. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would look at it as comparing to Manhattan. Like, where are rents compared to West Village? Where are they? Murray Hill? Where are they versus East, like Lower East Side? I think we're in Brooklyn, but we're only 4 minutes away from Manhattan on the L train. And that's how I think about like comparing it. Yeah, the rents have increased. They've increased everywhere, but how does it compare to the West Village? Because if I'm a young professional, young family, even single, like I'm Williamsburg versus West Village all day. Like it just gives you everything.
So you're a train guy?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Sort of.
Are you a train guy?
Sort of.
Hell no.
Sort of.
I hate the train.
Yeah, I probably, when I tell people this, like my friends, New York Nico, that like take the train every day, 48 times, whatever. When I tell them, like, yeah, I took the train probably in like 3 years, 4 or 5 times, they're like, look at me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Williamsburg has made me a little bit more of a train guy because that Williamsburg Bridge will get you.
Yeah.
And like, I'll do that whole thing of like, do I really want a 45-minute Uber on that thing or just JMZ or L train? And I definitely, that's the only train I'm taking at this point. But to get into Manhattan, at most of the times, the Williamsburg Bridge is tough.
You know, and it's crazy. At night, it's literally like 5 minutes. And I find myself sometimes, like, we're talking about Williamsburg Bridge, but even on Verrazano Bridge, where I'm just stuck on there for like 30 minutes at a time. I'm like, this bridge is going to fall one day, and I'm going to be on it the day it falls.
It is. That's tough. I mean, the only time I've been in anything like that is if we went to LA to see a space or something or friends, and just being stuck in that traffic is god-awful.
It's worse than here.
LA traffic's horrible.
It's way worse. I mean, everything, you could get everywhere in LA. It should be no more than 8 minutes, but there's like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, you are just stuck.
That's
and
why so many people do helicopters.
Where you live, you should be working. Where you live, you should love where you live out there, because you're not going anywhere else. And the only time I felt like that here, BQE, awful. Yeah, it's just awful. Yeah, and then the Williamsburg Bridge, like, you could just be stopped. I grew up, Jersey, going on that Garden State Parkway in the summertime. It could get a little dicey, but nothing like the BQE.
But you guys got so many options on that thing. You got like the express lane, you're all, the local.
Yeah, and then like you're just like looking at Route 35, 36, like 18, 195. Like, how do I get on the Jersey Turnpike faster? But here, you're just like BQE. You can know Brooklyn so well, you're still going to have a tough time. Like, under 30 minutes getting to the Barclays Center, it's 2 miles away from Williamsburg. Yeah. Try getting there under 30. It's hard.
Well, that BQE is 2 lanes, though.
I know.
Like,
I know.
There's always
That's what the
construction
problem is.
somehow. It's always
Someday.
construction. Meanwhile, I don't know what Ugats is getting done over there.
No, but
Someday they got to make
like
that
the
work.
promenade, the 2 lanes on the promenade is ridiculous, and I don't even know if I should admit this, but there's like that shoulder, and whenever I see, I just cut in, and
You
I'm
one
like,
of those,
yeah.
bro? I hate
I'm that jack off that like
hate that.
people
Oh,
are
yeah.
like.
Sometimes you got to do it.
You know, in certain cars, when I do it, it's not as bad. Like if I'm doing it in the Maserati, it's like okay. If I try doing it in the Pathfinder, people ain't letting me in.
Basically, like I got a half mile to go until one of those exits. I'm like, fuck it, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm going. I'm making it.
It's only a matter of time till the city starts putting like camera for shoulder ticket, like things like that.
I probably have gotten tickets for it already, but we'll worry about that.
The 25 over is crazy. Like
Ah,
the speed limit 25, and especially
impossible.
in how you doing beach, it's like every block has a speed camera now.
that is a place I need to search.
You
a
never
little bit
been?
more. I have, but I don't know it well. It's
Being
one
a
part.
pizza guy, all right, you're not.
It's
a,
one
you're
part
not a pizza
that I
guy. You're like
haven't-
a
Yeah,
real. We're here with Sean Feeney, by the way. We just kind of jumped into it, but
love it.
you are Williamsburg's biggest restaurateur, and you're really putting on for the neighborhood. And you didn't grow up here like us, so
No.
I guess we're here today to like figure out why you chose Williamsburg out of anywhere you could have done these concepts. Like,
Yeah.
why'd you pick Williamsburg?
Yeah, I mean, it
Brooklyn?
was luck. In 2014, after a bunch of months of trying to convince my partner, Missy Robbins, to be partners, she finally said yes. And we had in our mind the perfect space for a restaurant that we're going to open together. And it was in Manhattan. It was in the West Village because that's where we lived. And we started going to see all these spaces in the West Village. And in my mind, she was an amazing creative. I had to be as good of an operator, finance person as she was a creative. And I had this formula in my brain of like profitability, what a healthy business should be, even though everybody said you can never make money in restaurants. And I just believed that we could. And we were going to all these spaces in the West Village, Soho, Little Italy, Flatiron, and every rent was just crazy. And it was taking months. We were at the 38th place that we looked at in Manhattan.
38.
38.
Wow.
And I got a call from a friend who was getting his car done in Williamsburg. And he's like, hey, are you still looking for a space?
And you met
for a
Marky Boy?
restaurant?" That's it. And I was like, yeah, we're looking. And he's like, I think I might have something. It's a shithole, but like it's a nice space. There's something like, and it's cheap. I was like, well, what are we talking about? He's like, yeah, it's like 3,000 square feet. I was like, okay, that's like the spaces that we're looking for in Manhattan. What are we talking about price? And he told me. I was like, nah, that can't possibly be. And he's like, no, it's for real. He's been operating it since the 60s, and he just doesn't want to operate this massive auto body shop anymore.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let me get Missy. So I texted Missy. I'm like, hey, we got to go to Williamsburg to check out this auto body shop. And she's like, I am not opening a fucking restaurant in fucking Brooklyn. And I have that screenshot to this day.
Do you have it printed?
Oh, yeah. And I was like, well, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this together because we are not finding anything in Manhattan for what we can possibly do. So she's like, nah, fuck it, fine. So we came out here, and I remember that day going in to the auto body shop, and I thought she was going to crush me because it was shitty. It was like, brown walls. It was blacked out graffiti.
It was a body
windows.
shop. Like,
Yeah, and there was like probably bodies in it, like literally.
It was a literal body shop. I mean,
when we came in, it was like there's a room off to the side, and there was a curtain from ceiling to the floor, and there were two dudes literally squatting there doing all night raves, and
God
they
bless.
were like, "What are you doing here?"
now that's Williamsburg.
And I'm like, I mean, what are you doing here? And then sure enough, I was like, I thought she was going to start yelling at me because it was a shithole. And I was like, I'm sorry. And she's like, oh, we're taking this. This is it. I was like, what?
If you guys aren't familiar with Lilia, we got to talk about Lilia in a whole. But first of all, Missy, how did you meet her? Like, where was she working when you met her?
I had just moved into an apartment with my wife. We got married, and it was on Grove Street in Bleecker in the West Village. We lived on the 3rd floor. There was 3 apartments in this townhouse. And one day I was going to work, and I saw Missy going into her apartment. and I was a massive foodie. I mean, I worked in finance, and the only place I was ever good at my job in finance, seriously, was at restaurants. I would go out every single night entertaining people. And I knew about her. She was just about to start her job as the executive chef at Voce in Madison Park. And she was in Chicago. She was a chef at Spiaggia, which was the best Italian restaurant in Chicago. And I had just read this whole article about her coming to New York, and I saw her, and I'm like, oh my God, you live in our building? And she thought I was a creep. You know, I was like, I was fanboy.
Did she have a big social media following?
No, at that time, no. I mean, people knew about her. This was going to be her biggest shot, though. Like, she was coming to New York City. She was from New Haven, Connecticut area. And this was her shot to make it. And I was like, I'm in. Like, I'm going to be there, all the stuff. And she was like, oh, okay. And for the next couple of years, that was 2009. For the next couple of years, we would go to her restaurant. I would bring work people, my family, my mom and dad. And I was a fanboy. And then the night Hurricane Sandy hit New York, she shut the restaurants down. At that time, she had 2 Michelin stars, one at Voce Madison Park, one at Voce Columbus. And I came home from work. She was like, hey. And I was like, you want to have dinner tonight? I'm cooking. She's like, you're going to fucking cook for me? And I was like, yeah. She's like, what are you going to make? I was like, bolognese. I've been started bolognese like last night, just slow cooking it. She's like, you're going to make fucking pasta for me. And I'm like, yeah. And she didn't know. I was like, I obsessed about bolognese. I obsessed about it. And it's the only thing I would have ever felt comfortable making for her.
You make a mean bolognese?
Yeah. Yeah. I love the process. I love the layers. I love it. And I geek out about it. And she came up that night, and Hurricane Sandy was crushing us. Maria and I, my wife, we just told Missy all about us. Missy told herself about her to us. And that was it. And that was the night we became friends. She told us she was going to probably take off the next year from being a chef at Voce. And then for all of 2013, she did. She lost a lot of weight. She went to therapy. She did Pilates. She caught up on friends and like relationships she never had time for. She's 10 years older than me, and she graduated Georgetown. She immediately went into kitchens and never stopped for 20 years. And in that year of 2013, we became not just friends, but like family. Like at that time, my daughter was like 1.5, and we started leaving our doors open, and we were 8 steps away from each other. And my daughter would just go down, and she called her Missy Pasta, and we became family. We would cook together on the weekends. And then at the end of 13, I knew she wanted to take 1 year off, and she was going to figure it out. And I think she realized, like, I do want to go back into being in a restaurant, and I want to be a chef. I want to be an owner. And I was like, you should definitely do that.
It's different at that level than the level she was doing it. But did she like the bolognese?
To this day, we've never had it on our menu because...
So she didn't like it that much?
No, she loved it.
Oh, yeah?
But she's like, I'm not going to put it on because it's not as good as mine. And it's literally the greatest compliment.
Why doesn't she take your recipe then?
It's a creative, man. I don't know. It's just like, she can take it all day. I'm not a creative. I'm just a chef dad. But I think it's definitely the best compliment she's ever given me, for sure. Like,
yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. And I guess it was good. I mean, we're partners now 7 years later, and it's gone great. I mean, when we found Lilia, that was number 39 of the
restaurant
space.
you saw, yeah.
And it was the only space outside of Manhattan. And when she said, we're taking it, I signed that lease right there with Tony, Mark's dad, signed it. And, 14 months later, Lilia had opened, and that was it. And yeah, the rest it changed everything. We moved to Williamsburg a little bit after it opened. Missy moved to Williamsburg. Forever, I thought I was going to move back to New Jersey. I never really got serious about Brooklyn because the plan was work in finance and then move back home to the Jersey Shore, and I would take a boat every day.
To the city?
Yeah, to the
That's
city.
That's boss.
And, well, there's this amazing ferry from Monmouth County.
Oh, I thought your own boat.
Oh, no, I don't fire.
That'd be fire. That'd be fire, too.
No. That's not me. But
it's like some Long Island shit.
It's like Monmouth County, the Highlands. It's called Sea Streak. And it's a 40-minute commute from Monmouth County to Lower Manhattan. And that was the plan. And then when this opened, everything went away. And thank God it did, because, like, I'm never going to leave here. Like, this is it. It's the first place I've ever felt like it's home. It's like, this is it.
You know, just being from the neighborhood, he took over Mark's spot, which when I saw you a couple weeks ago, you told me he passed away. So rest in peace to him. But this guy was a real character. Like, always had stories, hustling, anything under the sun. Like, he would literally show up with the most random stuff and dump it, you know? So the first time, like, he was like almost like to the neighborhood, like people like us, he was like almost like a promoter of like, yeah, you got to see the people renting my place. This chef worked for Emerald Lagasse. So I didn't know if it was true or not.
Yeah, it's definitely not true.
So like being from the neighborhood that gave him a telephone, I'd be like, oh yeah, I heard the spot by Mark Carmel. It's like amazing. One of Emerald's chefs that's there. So like being from the neighborhood, that's what we were talking about.
Well, I'd like, you know, I met him and his dad. Like, I knew that they were there forever. Like, this is where they lived and raised their family. And I just loved that. I loved like understanding where it was and why they loved it. And I wanted to get to know them too. Like, there could be people that didn't have time for Mark, cause he was literally nuts.
Yeah.
But I like loved that. And I wanted to know, like, you know, why did he promote us so much? He used to come into our restaurants with random people.
I think because you guys were paying the rent.
That's true.
To find a good tenant is hard.
That's true. And he would come in and be like, I'm the owner of this restaurant. This is my restaurant. And I'm sitting right there. Letting him go.
Yeah. He would do
like,
that too.
Go. Hey.
He would like whisper, hey, I got a couple points, you know?
Yeah. And I just let him go. And like Missy would hear it and she'd be like, no, you're not. You're not. He's lying. And I'm like, just let him go. It's great. He feels ownership.
No, but it's funny because I would always ask him for favor. I think if I really look, I might have a voicemail of him. Like, he would always say my name wrong, like some Sambino, Santino. He called me different names too, just to show you what kind of guy he was. But I remember I was like trying to get a reservation. He's like, I'll get it for you. Don't worry, I'll get it for you. And he always promised he was going to get me a reservation. So one time his staff, like, there's like a bunch of sandwiches like they ordered, and I like wrote a note with like a bunch of merchandise. I was like, we'll trade sandwiches for reservations. And then one of your GMs like text us, and they're like, during COVID, they were ordering like all the time. So it was like a full circle moment when I met you, because I was like, you know,
yeah, I mean, I would come here every day. Like, it made me happy coming here for either Lilia to take a walk and just get some thoughts, or after basketball with my sons. Like, it's just a place I'd like to be. And I never met you. I met your dad when he's there all the time. And I was a fan because I knew, like, you guys have been here forever. And that's why I love Williamsburg, like walking around and seeing all the different parts. And, you know, I think it does get a tough rap right now because, like, a lot of people are like, well, it's changing so much. It's changing so much. And I think it's, you know, the reason why I see the opportunity of, that could be exciting, but as long as we could try to keep some of the awesome stuff that made it this way, like how do we keep that while making it go
the fine
forward?
Line of both.
Yeah, it's got a neighborhood feel for sure,
and it always has to have that. Like, it's just it's a different type of life. That
I kind of want to know what happened, like, between you seeing it as a 39th spot to, like, let me wake up at 9 a.m. to try to get a reservation at Resi. Like, what happened in between, like, that to that like,
man,
it was like what it is today?
Wild. When we signed that lease, it took us 14 months to open Lilia, and we made every single mistake possible. We had never done this ever, and so there was delays. There was a little bit more money that we had to put into
construction,
like construction, permitting, everything, and stuff that we just didn't know, because we didn't know a lot. But once we finally did get open, I mean, it was interesting. Like, Missy, this was her shot. Like, she was now an owner, and it was her name. Nobody would know me ever. And it was like a desperation thing. She was desperate. This was her shot. And I was going to do whatever she needed me to do to help. And little by little, I realized, like, that was going to be a little bit more than what I initially thought. And even when we first opened, I was never going to be on the floor. That was not going to be my role, but I was. Every single night I was coming, I was seeing people that I knew, I was meeting new people that I was like, I love doing this. I loved figuring out every table, had like different reasons for being there. Every person at that table were different. How could I make that amazing? And it made me so happy. And she was like, just keep on coming. And initially every day we would get these like we didn't have this great expectation. We'd put them on ourselves, but every day we would get like a little bit more buzz. And then 6 weeks into being open, there was a New York Times review that was written.
Yeah, that's what made you guys
blew it out.
Yeah.
And that became like sellout shows 8 nights a week, you know, like that was crazy. But leading up to that, her and I both we would look at each other every night like, is this really happening? Like it's buzzing. It's amazing. And then
it's very hard to get a reservation by you guys.
It's crazy because her and I we're just not cool. The restaurant is though. And we're grateful for that.
What advice would you give somebody trying to get a reservation at your place? Like, what's the hack? Like, is it like logging in a resi at 9:12 on a Tuesday?
Just keep looking.
What's the hack? Yeah. You know, actually, I think I might know the hack for everybody, and then you could answer. But I think a way to do it is like showing up at the restaurant and like looking at the books there.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, so you got to make the drive out, and then let's say when you do get the first reservation, you make a reservation for like a month ahead while you're leaving.
Well, that's crazy. That blows my mind. Like we've created this space where, you know, I love dining. I'm like a professional. I will say I'm a professional diner. I love going to restaurants. I love eating. And most of the times that I've gone to restaurants that I have absolutely loved, by the end of it, I am in no way, shape, or form ready to make my next reservation. I'm like, get me out of here. Like, I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Every single night at Lilia or Missy, people after their experience will be like, I want to make the next reservation.
Yeah, that's what
to me, like, it's the greatest thing ever. Like, you've created a place people love to come to and they can't wait to go back to, so much so that they'll make a reservation even after experiencing it and probably are full and just want to go home and go to bed. It's wild. I guess when we first opened, we didn't know how it was going to be received. So we put all of the reservations on Resi, and we were lucky because it was busy every night and the reservations were gone. And I would get these calls from my family and friends or work people
asking for reservations.
And I'm like, I can't do it this Thursday at that time, but like I can definitely do it a couple weeks from now. And people were like, what? It's your restaurant. Like, you can't fit me in. So then I'm like, Missy, we got to talk about this. Cause like, should we put 100% of our reservations on Resi? Cause I do want to be able to say like, yeah, we could get you in. So then we kept a bunch of the reservations for ourselves. And then if we don't give them, if they don't go, we'll always put them back on
last
Resi.
minute.
But it's gotten to the point where we're 7 years old now. We have 5,000 people on our wait list every night. It's wild.
God bless, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it is just...
Rock, have you ever ate at Lilia?
Yeah, I was going to say the story how I first went there. It was like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And my wife's cousin was like, yo, reservation for 4 right now, Lilias, we got to go tonight. So I was like, all right, let's fucking do it. Like, all right, it's never going to happen again. So we went. When I tell you we ordered the whole menu,
you did it.
We ordered the whole menu.
That's the way to do it.
The waiter was like, he was not that he wasn't even impressed. He's like, yeah, this is how you got to do it. Like, if you're going to come here to eat, you got to, bro.
That's amazing.
And it's hard, like, explaining to my parents, like, yeah, we're going out for some pasta tonight. Like, oh, I can make you pasta right here. What's the difference? But
I spent $30 or whatever. I spent, you know,
we haven't gotten that high yet. We're going though, but we're not that $30 of pasta yet.
Listen, either way, it's worth it, no matter what. But like, just the
because
fact that
their pasta's fresh too.
Oh, yeah.
They make it in house.
No, like, you guys clearly are doing a great job.
I appreciate that.
And yeah, we went. The appetizers were absolutely amazing. The pastas were incredible. We just had a great time.
I love that.
The aesthetic is amazing. So
that's all her too. I think that's the coolest part of like partnering with creatives in that way, where they're not just a chef. They have visions of like what they want their space to be, and especially when you're an owner, like, you can express it, and being able to witness that and letting that go has been so cool. And that's what Williamsburg gave us the chance to say, from me to her, if we do this in Williamsburg, if we do it right, you'll have the biggest blank canvas ever to paint on. And that meant not just the menu, but like the glasses that we use, the chance to like collaborate with clay maker, pottery to make our own dishes, like go nuts. All of those designs that you see at Lilia, like that is her creative vision. Like that was a disgusting auto body shop, but she saw it that day. She's like, we're going to paint the brick white. We're going to get new glass for the windows. Those are amazing. And then there's like a rod that follows through the whole restaurant. Originally that was going to be for like curtains so that people couldn't see him. She's like, I want people to see him, but like, let's keep that because that's a cool design. Yeah. And it's that, like the wood fire, she had that in her mind. Like she wanted that to be the thing, and warmth that would come out to everybody. It's just really neat. And it's something that I never thought would have happened. But even Missy now, we have that restaurant.
How many years after was Missy?
We opened that 2 years after Lilia. And it was double the size. We only have 72 seats inside of Lilia, and about 130 inside at Missy. Mm-hmm. And again, like people were going nuts. They're like, you're going to open an Italian restaurant a mile away from Lilia and you're just going to serve pasta and vegetables? Like, what are you doing? And we were like, no, we're going to be really intentional. Those are the two things that are the most popular at Lilia, and we're just going to go hard on that.
The food is like very similar to like
it's the same style.
The pasta is like very similar.
There's no overlap on like menu, but the style of the way it's cooked is very similar. We don't have wood fire at Missy, but we do grill a lot of our veg. We do have steak on the menu at Missy like we have at Lilia, but there's never overlap, but the style is very similar. And she's got a style at this point. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, when you started Lilia, were you obviously were in finance. Did you stay in finance, or were you like all in?
Yeah, for 3 years. For 3 years, from 2016 to 19, I would let the pastry chef go in the morning at Lilia, then go to a hedge fund.
What time in the
Soho.
morning?
It was like 4:45 a.m.
Oh my God.
I would get to my hedge fund office at 5:30, where I was an employee at, and that was in Soho. And then I would take an L train back to Williamsburg at 5 p.m., see my wife and daughter. At the time, we only had one. And then I would be on the floor 5:30. And I would stay there for as long as possible. For the first 2 years.
So you work like 18, 19 hours a day?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. And it was weird because, like, it sounds crazy, but it never was at a point where I was like, this is nuts.
So I
loved
think the reason why you enjoyed like working there is because your hobby is like going to restaurants.
Yeah.
So for you, it was like, it wasn't work. It was just,
I was in my natural element. Like, I think a lot about it when it happened. I was really amazing in finance for the purpose of building relationships and networking. Most of the time I was doing that my best in restaurants every night. I would make the reservation. I knew every story about every restaurant. I knew most of the people that worked at that restaurant and their stories, so that everybody that was there that night, we could just be comfortable and be there for the reason why we were, just to get to know each other, talk business, build trust. And then when this restaurant happened,
go through of the experience of going out to eat with you, what it's like.
Just
what would we be able to expect? If we went out to eat with you?
Just excitement. You're definitely going to get a text message hours before we actually are there, with
reminding
kind of like
that
the heads up of like, this is where we're going. This is why it means a lot to me.
Make sure to bring cash so we don't have to bring six cards.
We got to duke everybody. But you got to this is the dish that made me love this restaurant. This is the person behind the reason why it's so special to me, and just be ready for a great night. So you get a text, and then when we all sit there, most of the time, like, there won't be a menu. Like, I don't. Yeah,
So you just sit down. No, we don't need that.
Yeah, and like, let's just I'll do the ordering for everybody, and we're gonna get all the hits. You're gonna know exactly why we're here.
We gotta go out to eat
anytime.
There's nothing better than going out with somebody that knows what they want and like already has it set for the table.
That's why I don't like going to eat at new places that much too, because or if I do, I'll like look at the menu and
what are they known for?
Exactly.
Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm a fan of restaurants, so like I'm always going to be on the side of positivity versus critical. Like, I don't go into a restaurant ever thinking like, let me see what they're not good at. I want to go into a restaurant being like, this place exists. They have to be good at it, something. And I want that. Like, I want to experience why they did this thing. And for me, that's the beauty of it. It's the food, it's the design, it's the feeling you get when you're consuming that experience that I've just always loved. So when I bring friends or family, work people into a restaurant, that's what I want them to feel when they leave. So when Lilia opened, it was just this natural thing that I loved doing. And I was no longer sitting at the table. I was serving. And that was the coolest thing
So
ever.
you like knew the experience that you would want. So you would give that to the customer.
And then the challenge was figuring out like, no, not everybody was like that though. Like there were some people coming to Lilia that were there for a business meeting, and I needed to figure out a way to allow them to have that experience and not screw anything up. Mm-hmm. But then there could be a table of 6 with 6 millennials with their phones and LED lights that just wanted TikTok things. And like, I was going to treat them differently than that table next to them because I wanted to tell them every story so that they not only got that content, but then they went to all their friends afterwards and be like, do you know the story about the muffalini? Like how that was created with pink peppercorn? And like, to me, that was a beautiful challenge of how do I make the impression that everybody, like, it's the reason why they're there. And I have loved that. I'm
going to have to put him on the hot seat. And since you're a professional restaurant goer, foodie, whatever we want to call it, you know, a lot of people do it for a living. You're doing it, you're putting out the product. But being that you come from that background, you love going out to eat. What are the best 5 Italian New York spots?
Oh.
Or I should say, what are the best 5 New York Italian spots?
That still exist or that changed my life?
That still exists? Oh, well, actually, let's do that still exists.
Yeah. So the ones that changed my life, February 3rd, 2005, I went to Babbo for the first time.
Babbo,
Babbo, Mario Batali. It's what made him famous.
It's closed now, right?
It's still open.
Oh, it is?
It's still
I've never been there.
But to me, that changed the way I thought about food in restaurants. Up until that point, I was in New York City for 2 years, and I thought, as like a finance person, you had to go to steakhouses every night. And in 2 years, I did something that my grandmother always hoped I would do. I gained a lot of weight.
From steakhouses?
Yeah, because I would go to Smith & Wally's, Sparks, Wolfgang's, Strip House,
Peter
Luger's.
Luger's,
I was going to every steakhouse every single night, 6 nights a week. And one night after a dinner at Sparks, I had a friend tell me, hey man, like you love this. Like it's clear you love this, but why do you keep on going to these places? And I was like, what do you mean? This is what we do. We go to steakhouses and trade bonds next day. And he's like, you fucking idiot. No, it's not what we do. This is the dining capital of the world. Like, and on that walk home, I was thinking about it. I'm like, he's right. Like I grew up in Jersey. My mom and dad would take us to New York City 2 times a year. And my dad would research like crazy restaurants and like make it an investment. And I was like, that's it. Next day I made a reservation at Babbo and I went for the first time. It changed my life. Since then, Italian restaurants that really I loved Emilio's Gelato. I'll go.
That's classic.
And I'll go once a month. I love going up to Arthur Ave, and I love Roberto's or Dominic's after a Yankees game. There was an Italian restaurant that still exists in the West Village, but there was a guy by the name of Renato Migliorini, and he passed away I think 2013, 14. But we would go there every Sunday night. It was like our little neighborhood spot. The restaurant was called Piccolo Angolo on Jane and Hudson. I loved that restaurant because they did a couple things well, but they always made you feel amazing. And it was really Renato that did. His daughter, Maria, works there. His son, Peter, works there. And they just made you feel like you're a part of them. And those were the restaurants that just made me like love restaurants like in New York City. So I would say Babbo, Emilio's Gelato,
Piccolo Angolo. Yeah,
Piccolo Angolo, Dominic's up in Arthur Ave. And if I had to take one more, I would probably say, East Sodi in the West Village.
See, the only place I've been to was Emilio's.
Yeah.
Of all those places.
So East Sodi is a huge inspiration for Lilia. It's on Christopher and Bleecker, right around there. And it's an amazingly small restaurant, but Tuscan. It's perfect. It's a perfect restaurant. So those 5 are the Italian restaurants in New York City that have like absolutely changed my life for sure.
Sean, I wanted to ask you why Italian for you guys? Like, why you and Missy?
Yeah,
Missy's
it's crazy.
background helped
Yeah,
big time?
Missy's a Jew from Connecticut, and who went to Georgetown, and I'm I got an Irish last name, but I'm 50% Irish and 50% Italian, and I think her parents just have they are very similar to my parents, where they just made their biggest investment in life in their family, and a lot of it had to do with the experiences that they could provide us. And those experiences were dinner every night together. For me, every Sunday, we would have both my dad's family, the Irish side, and my mom's family, the Italian side, would come from North Jersey because they grew up in Paterson, and they would come down to the Jersey Shore where we grew up in Manasquan every Sunday, and we would have these massive suppers. And, we would have just all the Italian aunts and grandmas cooking. And I remember things like vividly the first time I had mozzarella when I was 4 and the summer one was playing. Like, I remember moments of tastes, but what was happening when that happened. And we would go on vacations together as a family. They invested heavily in those, and Italy was a place where they were proud to take us. And a lot of these places, most of them, were places they had never been able to go to growing up. So my dad would go to all these Barnes and Nobles and get a bunch of books, Fodor's, Zagats, and he was like an encyclopedia of information. And when we would get off the plane, he would be the tour guide as if he would live there forever. And
Sounds like you get a lot from him though, like similar with the restaurant.
Yeah. I mean, he's an oral maxillofacial surgeon, so like he literally made people smile, but figuratively, like he made people smile. Like anytime my dad is around,
he's good at his job.
Is it? And like everybody in town would come up to him and meet him with a smile. And from a young age, I was like, that's what I want to do. And for a long time, I thought I was just going to take his practice over. But then, I didn't. But I realize now it's like, I just want to make people smile. I don't need to fix their face to do it.
You do it with food, food and experience.
Yeah. But that was it. I think just like hosting people mattered a lot to us. And then in New York City, like my mom and dad would take us 2 times a year to a Yankee game, and then to the Radio City Rockettes show. So I'm 42, and I've been to that show 40 times. Every single year, we surprised my mom on Thanksgiving with tickets to see the Rockettes. And those experiences growing up were amazing, because I remember coming through the Holland Tunnel and always trying to see where New Jersey became New York in the tunnel.
Like the sign?
The sign. And I loved like beating my sister to see it first.
I love that.
And I just remember like it would be December, and my dad would make these reservations. We would park at Radio City, go up Fifth Ave, take a horse and buggy ride, go to Mickey Mantle's, which was the greatest sports bar of all time, and then go to the show. But then my dad, for months, would research which restaurant we were going to go to. And most of the time, it'd be down in Little Italy, like Angelo's and Il Cortile. Mm-hmm. And he would literally pull his windows down, the sunroof down on his car, and blast like Sinatra.
Summer when?
And it would be the middle of December, and it'd be freezing out. And we got like Bing Crosby going on. Like it would, and I just remember those moments, and we would always be in shirt and tie, and it was like a special thing. So I think those experiences my parents invested heavily in mattered. But the Italian stuff, like that was my upbringing. Like every Sunday.
I feel like Italian restaurants need more than one category.
Yeah.
Because like let's say Missy and
there's red sauce.
Yeah, those are like red sauce joints.
There's like Italian style, like, and you'd go to Sicily versus Biella is where my family's from in Piemonte, and like it's different style of cooking. Like there's coastal
more butter and
but there's seafood, and there's like risotto. Like up in Biella, that's what you have. Mm-hmm. Bagna cauda is what we grew up eating almost every celebration. Birthdays, New Year's Eve, we would have big bagna cauda, warm bath, anchovy, olive oil, and garlic in these like boiling hot pans. Uh-huh. And we would have skewers of meat and chicken and shrimp and raw vegetables. And we would just dip it in to that hot bath.
Sounds amazing.
And you would just like wait there, and we would have all of my aunts, uncles, grandparents, everybody around, and everybody stood. And we would have this crusty bread and really cheap red wine. And we would always, bet who's going to be the last person standing. And the kids would always go down first because we were just sopping up all that bread with the anchovy and the garlic. And then the guys would go down next because they were drinking so much wine. They were like, we got to sit down. And it would be my little grandmother just going, just duking it right in there the whole night with this, it's just amazing experiences like that where that's where it came from. And then Missy I think Missy just loved that style of hospitality and the simplicity of Italian food. Yeah. How do I keep it as simple as possible?
Because I would explain red sauce, then contemporary Italian.
That's right.
What you guys got. And then I would say super Italian, the Cipriani. I don't know how to give that category, but
yeah, I think there's a Italian American red sauce, and maybe a Cipriani is a kind of that version of Italian, but from Italy.
That's true. What kind of Italian spot is it?
Exactly, because
that's a great point.
We deal with a lot, we talk about food for a living at this point, and Italians from Italy that follow us hate the chicken parms and spaghetti and meatballs and you guys got nothing like that.
Not
but
yet.
then it's not
He's open.
not yet.
Not yet.
But I guess that's what I wanted to talk about. Is did you ever experience maybe somebody saying oh, you're not real Italian food?
I think the biggest compliments have always been the one that gets Missy the most excited is when someone from Italy comes.
Yeah.
And I would say for all the people that have ever come into our restaurant, that's when she's most on her game. When she knows there's an Italian in the building, she's like, I am going to make them love my food. That's where I'm going to show up.
I like that.
And she it's like Jordan Game 6. I want the ball.
Blue game.
Italians are the
Get out of my
critics.
way. Get out of my
It'll
way.
be Missy
I got
pot.
the ball. I got the ball. And
she gets out the special cooking utensils.
she's just you on the line, off, I'm in. Because at this point she's she doesn't cook. She's an expediter.
Yeah.
She makes sure everything looks good. But
Quality
every
control.
now and then we'll get an Italian that comes in and they'll come up to the pass and be just so you know, we're from here. And she's
of course, they have to announce it.
all right.
She's the
I'm
comments
in.
we get all the time, once they start negative, it's I'm from Italy, or I'm Italian.
Oh yeah.
That's the first
A
sentence.
little entitlement.
So they check in.
Totally. All the time. But we want that. I love that pressure, and she does too, because we just want to make people happy. We want to make them proud too, and I don't think it's ever we're better than you. We do this better than you, which I think that's probably what they're coming in as. We're from Italy and you're New York. But we just want you to enjoy, and we want you to be proud. This is our version of your greatness, and but I do think that is a thing for sure, and especially after Lilia opened. Then when we opened the other restaurants, and the target's a little bit bigger too. So when we first opened Lilia, people, weren't coming in guns blazing, let's put them on the spot. But then since then, it's all right.
Well, now because you guys are a top spot,
what do
it's
you got?
more pressure.
And that's a thing too. That's what you gotta love to continue to be great. It's every day you're your biggest critic, and so you shouldn't be. People are gonna hate.
You guys don't really have a set menu. Every time I go there, it's a seasonal menu.
Yeah, I think there's definitely things on Lilia Missy menu that have been there day one, but not 100%. I would say there are, 12 dishes at Lilia that will forever
staple,
stay.
yeah.
And around that, very seasonal. Same with Missy. There's a couple pastas that will stay there forever. But then because it's veggie, it's very seasonal.
Basically, Missy's almost vegetarian.
Yeah.
There's one or two dishes.
Yeah.
Because last time I was looking.
Yeah, for the most part.
I had.
For the most part, there's a couple pastas with meat in it. But for the most part, it's a healthy version of Lilia and really intentional.
I gotta tell you this, Sean. My favorite from both those restaurants, you might think I'm crazy, is the ricotta toast from Missy.
That's what I was just gonna say. What I was gonna ask you was from the owner's mouth himself.
Yeah.
There's a group of 4 going to Lilia and Missy. What should they be ordering?
Man,
to start to finish to end.
yeah. I mean, Lilia's great because you could get a little bit of everything. So definitely my favorite thing on period is the Italian broccoli. She cooks it in a way where it's almost cooked as if it's in pasta water. So she cooks it in this salty pasta water. She doesn't saute it. She doesn't grill it. She takes that out of that, like almost like that hard, salty blanch, and then Calabrian chili, lemon, Parmesan, olive oil, really good olive oil. And that's the dish. And I would have that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think it's perfect. I love her grilled clams with Calabrian chilies and breadcrumbs. She made a version of that in my mom and dad's backyard in 2013 when like we were never going to open a restaurant together. And I remember her saying when we were tasting it down in Jersey, she's like, man, when we have a restaurant together, we're going to put this on the menu. And then sure enough, like 3 years later, that was the first thing that went on the menu.
Love that.
There's these mussels that are on the menu as well with these green butter. It's just out of control. The green butter, you could...
Green butter's nuts.
I mean, I drink it. I'll drink that green butter. And then there's a fish that I've loved since day one. It's a black bass, salsa verde, and a Yukon potato. That's it. From Lilia, that's it. And I know I didn't say any pastas.
Yeah, you didn't say any pastas.
Yeah.
I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, that the malfadini and the agnolotti are the two things that made us famous.
D'Angelo, that's the most popular, I would say, right? The
Malfadini with the pink peppercorn and Parmigiano, but then the agnolotti that has the saffron, honey, sheep's milk, cheese inside. Though that's from Lilia. Missy, like, there's this.
Hold on, we skipped dessert.
Oh, the Italian job.
You're not getting away without doing it.
Yeah, the Italian job. That's like honestly,
it's a pistachio ice cream, right?
It's soft serve vanilla gelato with honey, olive oil, sea salt, and fennel pollen.
Yeah.
So fennel pollen is like, she calls it magic dust. It's her secret ingredient always. Whenever she wants to bring something to like the next level.
She sprinkles a little fairy dust on that?
Yeah, that's it. And that dessert, like, it's hard to, I don't like to say, well, that's the best of all time because it's ours, but like I have yet to find a dessert in my life that has made me so messed up after eating it for the first time.
Oh, it's delicious.
And that was the whole thing. Like that was a off menu item one night. Somebody asked her to go crazy, and that's what she made. And for many years, we just didn't put it on.
I would love to do that one day. Just tell the restaurant, yeah, just go crazy for dessert. Something off menu. You're allowed to do that?
I can't do that because I'm too big. Like, if I do it as a big guy, I go, fat boy wants it. Fat boy again.
Actually, so it was
brownies.
Funny. The people that asked her had just gotten back from Italy for 2 weeks, and they were like, we got back yesterday, and we're actually here the day after because we've been thinking about Lilia since, and like we just wanted to come back, which is an amazing compliment. And that kind of like buttered her up because then they were like, hey, can you make something off menu? And she's like, yeah. So that was
the olive oil and gelato. Like, I see that a lot now, but I remember the first time I saw you guys, I'm like, what are you doing? Like olive oil? But until you try it, it's ridiculous.
The coolest thing is when white truffle season's in, and instead of fennel pollen, we'll shave white truffles on the gelato. And it's like, there's been a couple big chefs to come into the restaurant, and my role during truffle season is the chief truffle officer. Like, it's the job that I love
Chief
most.
Truffle Officer.
Yes, yeah,
CTO. That's an important title right
the
there.
CTO. And I love it because I just get to walk around with a truffle and a shaver and just go wild.
Yeah.
So like coming up to somebody.
Yeah,
literally.
You know, did you ever try Mammo, the restaurant Mammo?
Where's that?
It's on Broadway. So we literally just ate there yesterday for Mother's Day, and they had like a white truffle pizza.
Wow.
We gotta go. You're a food guy. Me and you will go there.
I'm in.
And man, it was like one of the crazy. Like, they had a risotto white truffle. They're known for the white truffle. So if you like the white truffle, no, it's in Broadway over here.
Manhattan.
Yeah, it was like 20 minutes from here. I'm not super good with like neighborhoods and stuff like that, but that's.
I'm always down. Like I love finding new places all the time.
Like, it's like Cipriani, but like a little different. And we went there with Sveta, who's like mad picky. Like, our friend that's the artist from Italy, like, he always wants to go to Cipriani, and we ate there, and we were just like, yo, this is
And
incredible.
he enjoyed it?
He loved. He likes it. He wants to change reservations around and go there again.
I love that. That's great.
So what would you get at Missy?
Oh, Missy, it would just, I mean, the tortelli pasta with it's like spinach ricotta filling and brown butter. That's the dish. And like, to me, that's probably the best pasta I've ever had in my life.
It's like the tortellini shape almost.
Yeah, exactly. I know what you're talking about. That has to be the one that I get all the time. Then for veggies, there's always artichoke with the salsa verde. And then whatever veggie that they're putting on the ricotta toast, just get it. It's just like, it's the best.
I had mushrooms with it.
I
hate mushrooms, but I love those.
They're like steak.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
think I had like a broccoli or something. I was on the side.
Sometimes
so
it's
like a seasonal.
It's seasonal. Sometimes there's what's best is August. We'll do oven dried tomatoes. Those are crazy.
Incredible.
Those are crazy. Because like August tomatoes, like it's the greatness for that season. And oven dried with cracked coriander and a little bit of red wine vinegar on that ricotta toast. It's like forget it. So I usually would say 3 veggie and 1 pasta when you go to Missy.
And then gelato for dessert.
And then gelato, just get them all.
You guys make the gelato, right?
Yeah.
I had the pistachio one. It was incredible.
So crazy. And she geeked out. I remember opening Missy, and there was, we didn't put pistachio on that menu for 2 months because she just didn't think it was there. She wanted to do Italian gelato so right. Like she wanted to just nail it, and she would not put these, like the actual individual ones on the menu until like she's like, it's there.
Real pistachio gelato is like that brown.
Oh yeah.
Because like, let's say you'll see like some pistachio is like super green.
Yeah.
Like the Feeney green,
like
that.
Yeah.
But then like the real, like when you taste that like pistachio.
Yeah, because you're getting the paste.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's really what changed the game for that gelato was
using
the fresh Sicilian paste, the pistachio paste. And it was like, once she found the right one, she like found like 6 of them. And then when she found the right pistachio paste butter, whatever you want to call it, that was when it was like, oh, that's it. Even like the mint stracciatella is my favorite gelato on our menu. And she basically did all sorts of different ratios of mint, spearmint, peppermint, stems on, stems off, and like wouldn't put it on until she's like, this is it. Pretty cool.
Who taste tests all of everything? You?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's a sick gig.
Yeah. We got to write notes, version 1.
I walk a fine line. Like I'm there if she wants me, right?
Gotcha,
I want her. She has the best palate of all time, and I always love when she asks me what I think, and then she'll find other people on our teams that like have good palates, and she'll do that too. But yeah, it's always a nice compliment when she's like, "Hey, I want you to taste this." That's good.
I never felt like less of a chef than I do right now. Like I just put chicken cutlets in between 2 slices of bread.
That's all I got.
Genius.
That's all I got. You should see me on a Sunday. That's all I got. That's it.
Well, I actually want to talk to you about Feeney because like Lilia and Missy are tremendous. Like they're great restaurants, but pizza is another game.
Yeah.
Pizza is. I feel like what you're doing at Feeney is like probably more you.
Yeah.
Like it's more like your vision.
It is. And I'm grateful because, I there was many times when Lilia and Missy were going that I threw out the idea of having a pizzeria. And
they were like, ha!
And she said like, no, I'm not into it. Like, I don't want to put myself in that game because that's crazy.
Yeah. It's 2 separate businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. But she is involved. She's an investor and a supporter in it. And I'm so lucky that we were able to do it because, I obsess about pizza coming from Jersey. Like those neighborhood pizzerias in Jersey were a big part of my life growing up. And when I moved to Manhattan in 2003, every single Friday I would go to a different pizzeria and invite friends. And it was a big thing. And I love pizza. And so in 2020, towards the end of the year, I was walking by the space on Bedford Ave, and I just would stare into this little space, And one day there's this guy, Papo, who's like the mayor of Bedford Ave. And he's like, hey, you going to take that space or what? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. And he's like, what do you want to do there? I was like, pizza. He's like, yeah, fucking pizza. Do pizza. And I'm like, all right. And the next day I walk through the space and I'm like, I'm going to take it. And then for a couple months later, you know, I came up with a plan on how I wanted that, you know, my version of a New York City slice shop to be. And when I brought it to her, she thought I was crazy. Her first response was like, oh, you're a chef now? And I was like, no, I'm not a chef. And luckily, you know, we were able to work through a lot of things, and we have someone who worked with us from a young age at Lilia when we opened, and Missy. And, you know, I was able to say to him, like, can you get excited about making pizza? And he's crazy. He's like, yeah, I can. And for a year, we had that space. We came up with...
You're just paying rent like...
No, we had a good deal. But, yeah, we didn't pay rent until we opened.
Oh, that's a great deal for a year, yeah. But you got it constructed and like you were figuring out the pizza aspect? How did that happen?
Yeah, the summer of 2022, we basically were building out the space.
So Feeney's only like a year old?
Year old.
That's kind of crazy.
We opened September 22. And the entire summer of 22, we were in that space with an oven and a mixer and just like making pizza. And it was him and I every day, Will, my partner. And for a couple months, we would eat like 200 pizzas a day. 200
pizzas
a day. 200. We would make 200 and taste 200.
Oh, like
pizzas.
A bite of each.
Yeah, we learned very quickly. Like we're gonna take a taste here.
You need Mark to be there. With you guys.
Yeah. And then finally one day, I'm like, all right, dude, we gotta get somebody else to eat this thing. And we started inviting friends back in. But to me, it was my dream. I love what pizzerias are to neighborhoods. They role they play, whether they know it or not. And I wanted to be one of those restaurants, pizzerias that was intentional about that role.
I feel like that's exactly what a pizzeria is. Like you have $10 in your pocket, you're gonna eat a quick meal. Like you're starving. Oh, let me grab a quick slice. You know, like pizza serves that oh, you have friends over. Let's order a pizza.
Yeah, man. I mean, I remember growing up, just like going there with my friends when we had bikes, and we would drive there and just have, you know, we'd be like my daughter's age, 11 years old to 15. I would have my birthdays there as a young kid. After soccer games, we would go there, or basketball games, practices. Every Friday night, we would go to Andy's Pizza or Anthony's or Squan Tavern. That's you know, I loved playing on bitty basketball teams or soccer teams with Squan Tavern on my shirt. Like that was a pizzeria that was like intentional about being a part of the community. They were giving money to like a rec league sponsoring a team. And I was like, if I could create delicious pizza, it had to be delicious. And then if we got people that were just like welcoming and deliver hospitality in a pizzeria, then we could be really intentional about the impact we have in that neighborhood. And I think like that's what I'm most excited about. Like, how do we do, you know, that pizzeria just elevated? How do we have hospitality and get people that work with us that are, when you walk in, hello. Like, I think that's what I want to really try hard to do. And then how do we make the neighborhood better? Like, instead of giving $200 to a local sports team to put that on the jersey, like, can we actually do something even bigger and like buy a bunch of garbage cans to pick up all the trash on the street, and then hopefully redo a basketball court here and have like a tournament in the summertime? Like that's kind of where I want to go with this thing. We got to like figure this out, because a lot of people say this. Is Jersey pizza better than New York pizza? Because, man, I would have said no. Because you kept talking about Jersey pizza. Yeah, I mean, I would have said no because I was so like proud to be in New York City. I'm like Lucali and like Joe's Pizza at 2:00 in the morning and all these great DeFara. I went on a crazy New York City binge of pizzerias, but now thinking about it, like Jersey pizza stands up. Like there's this Star Hill Tavern in South Orange and Razza. I think like if you write a book per capita, you're saying? Yeah, like I think if you write a book about pizza, like Razza in Jersey City should have like a picture of them next to that original definition of pizza. Like to me, it's amazing. So I don't know. I think Jersey and New York, there's nothing like Brooklyn pizza. Like it's just the best. It's the capital of the world of pizza, but Jersey definitely comes closer than any other place.
Connecticut third?
I don't even know. They burn the shit out of it, right? Like, it's just like
I actually
burn.
never tried Connecticut pizza. We were talking about taking a road trip there.
You should.
You know,
I'll look for the positive in everything, especially pizza. But
A little too well done for you?
Yeah, I like well done. I just don't like burn.
have you ever had New Park pizza?
Yeah, New Park's great. My favorite. I honestly think like it's hard to say what my favorite is, but there's one that doesn't get enough love. It's Johnny's Pizzeria up in Mount Vernon. It was
I've heard people
started
talk
in
about
1942, and they have this hot pepper pizza that I'll go every single day forever just to get that. And there's just one of them. It's Johnny's Pizzeria in Mount Vernon, and that hot pepper pizza is legendary. It's legendary.
I feel like we talk about like New Jersey pizza all day, and nobody will know the spot. Like, all those places you said, I never heard of. But when we
I'll
talk
take
about
you to Razza. I'll take you to Razza.
yeah, all right,
you
we'll
need
go
Razza.
there. But when we talk about New York pizza, like you say, like okay, Joe's Pizza, like everybody in the world
Yeah,
knows Joe's
L&B.
Pizza, L&B.
Yeah.
Like, and you kind of got a similar style to L&B, but like you got that shaved Parmesan on top, which is cool.
And that was all Will. Like I kind of, when Will and I were talking about the framework of Feeney, I wanted him to be creative with it, but I also wanted it to be New York City, like firm crust, well done, and just once we got that, it was you go off. Like we just got to nail the pepperoni and the plain pie, but. You know, he came to me. He's like, "What do you think about white pizza?" Yeah. And I'm like, "I don't
it's
really
like a
get
clam
it.
pie, right? Or no?
I was like, I never order white pizza
Because you put lemon on there.
put lemon, and he was like, "Yeah, you don't order white pizza because it's usually not that good. It's like baked ricotta and mozzarella,
and
there's
a
no
blob
taste,
of
and like
ricotta,
yeah." And he's like, "I'm thinking like like a cheese board." And I was like, "Whatever, like, what? Just do it, and then let's see what you got." And he made parm fonduta and fontina that gives it a little funk, and then mozzarella, and then he finishes it with lemon, and I'm like, God damn it, it's amazing. And to this day, it's like it has become one of the best sellers.
If I had to pick a picture to represent which slice represents Feeney, which one would you pick?
Man,
like, what's your best seller? Is that an easier question? Like, is it
no,
white or
the best
square?
seller is always just plain cheese pizza
cheese?
and pepperoni, but right now the white is right up there too. I think the thing that like got me most excited about when we were opening, when he put the tomato pie in front of me, where it's just simple San Marzano tomato, garlic breadcrumb, and then the Calabrian chili oil, and there's no cheese. And when I tasted that for the first time, it's like, this is so different, and it's exciting, and it tastes almost like a bowl of mussels, marinara. There's no seafood on it, but something about the garlic breadcrumbs gave me this like this thought back to when I grew up, having like a bowl of clams and mussels with red sauce, and that's my favorite. That's gotten me so excited about Feeney from the get-go. And when people see it too, they're like, there's no cheese? And so people come in and they're like, I don't do cheese. Do you have anything?
What's that famous, like, we posted a video recently. It was like a burnt ass pizza with tomato on it. Or I don't know if we posted, but I thought it went viral on TikTok. And like a lot of the creators like reacting, like with the tomato pie, you know?
Oh God, did that come from Feeney?
No, it wasn't from Feeney.
Oh, because that's the other thing
there's
too.
There's like places in Jersey. That's a big Jersey thing. The tomato. Yeah,
tomato pie.
Exactly. In Philly too. So it's like a South Jersey.
For sure. Cherry
Philly
Hill
thing.
around there.
Yeah.
And that was whole, Will like came up to me with this thing, and I'm like, damn, where'd you get this idea? He's like, what do you mean? You grew up in Jersey. It's a Jersey thing. And I was like, shit, I never had a tomato pie. But then there are like places in New Jersey that are known for that, like the Cherry Hill, Trenton, Philly area. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, also understanding when you open a pizzeria in Brooklyn, and then when they start finding out who opened it, the amount of like criticism and the overall like oversight of what you're doing, it is outrageous. And like even more than just a restaurant. It's like it's amazing. But luckily we've been able to deliver and just keep on getting better. And we have a good team. I mean, none of our people have ever made pizza before at that restaurant.
And now you're doing that.
Yeah,
like,
and most of them are in high
level.
school. Like we have, that's the coolest thing too. Most of the people that are a part of our team are high school students.
Oh wow,
which is crazy. And like they're making some of the best pizza in all of Brooklyn, and it's amazing to see them just get better and better and better. Meaning like faster, consistent, and that's exciting to watch.
What makes a good slice of pizza to you?
The dough. It's like
the dough.
Yeah,
the dough's the most important.
Yeah, I do think so. It's the bread. To me, it's the bread,
A
because
lot of people say like the sauce.
the ingredients have to be great, because like you could put up. You could definitely put up a pizza with a certain cheese and tomato versus one with elevated, and you go elevated all the time. But like, to me, what makes everything stand out is just the bread. Like, if you could really nail that consistently, that's it. And then you just find amazing ingredients. That's it.
Yeah.
And it comes down to like your business. Like, what do you want the business to be?
I've yet to go to Feeney.
Oh man,
Now you have to.
But is it like half pizzeria, half restaurant, or is it just pizzeria?
no, just pizzeria. Just pizzeria,
Gotcha.
slice joint.
We got a friends and family room. Is that allowed?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about the friends and family
Yeah,
room?
well, there's like, when I went into the space for the first time, I immediately saw this like little front part that was just perfect for a slice shop. And then they brought me back, and there was this like, where there used to be a backyard, it was now a room. And I didn't want the pizzeria to be big. I wanted it to be small, but I also love the space. So I was like, I'm just gonna figure it out back here. And it, you know, it's my office, but then it's also at nighttime a place where we could entertain friends. But it's also a place too where
That's to say it lightly.
yeah,
Where you see like people like Carl Anthony Towns eating back there, and Kevin Love. How did like people like that did you come across? Is it just from restaurant thing? Or?
Yeah. Really, I think it's interesting. Like, I think everybody has a genius. I think for whatever reason, I'm just really good at becoming friends with people.
Yeah.
And I've collected amazing types of different people in my life, and definitely like the more famous ones have come after the restaurants have opened.
Yeah.
But it has become a place where we could kind of, you know, have people be comfortable, and after games and stuff, hang out.
It makes it easier to make friends once you have good food.
Again, like, I'm not cool, and Missy's not either, but our restaurants have become, and I'm forever grateful.
You know what I was thinking I haven't seen in a while? Are there still dollar slices in the city? Is
Nope.
that still a thing?
Nope.
No such thing anymore.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't try it anyways, but I was just curious.
I think the cheapest one is $1.50 now.
$1.50?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's I think it's going up.
Two Bros just announced, it was like, well, for me, it was like a big
Yeah.
Yeah.
that they announced no more dollars.
No more dollar slice.
Yeah, well, it's you know, what I've learned about it too is, like, how do you price it out? And a lot of these places are saying like, well, the cost of a slice is what it costs us to make the whole pie,
Yeah.
and then the
That's
rest
great
of,
margins right there.
well, the rest of the slices are labor, which are also high, and like rent, which is high, and so those slices go away. But the way people think about pricing a whole a slice is what the cost of what
Yeah.
it makes.
So good sold, yeah.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you, what are like your favorite, or give me the top 5 pizza spots
New York
in
City.
New York?
Man, oh man. All right. Well, Lucali.
That's number one.
Yeah. Yeah. In New York
I never
City.
ate there.
In New York City, Lucali for me. DeFara when Dom was around back in the day. I love let's think about this.
You going in
Pizzas are like New York, like the restaurants, like New York slice, Napolitan, you know, like the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the
It's
ones
true.
that have hit for me in New York City. It's I mean, Joe's Pizza for many years. It was where I ended most of my nights.
Home of Spider-Man.
Yeah, and especially when I was in finance, most of my nights were ended there. Probably gave me a good 25 pounds. Tafara, Lucali, Joe's,
You got 2 more for us?
John's of Bleecker, for sure.
Classic.
Arturo's on Houston, coal-fired, and John's of Bleecker. Those are my 5 favorite. But I just love all pizza. Like,
Yeah.
I'll find something great about pizza.
So now I see you're opening a Feeney in Amagansett.
Yeah.
I call it. I say what accent. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it.
That's a good one.
I
Yeah.
guess. What is that?
That's like right before the
I
Hampton.
think the kid.
I'm not gonna say it.
I think the kids say out east, but
Yeah.
but yeah, like I'm a Jersey guy. I've never really spent much time in the Hamptons. During the pandemic,
You're gonna love it there.
Yeah, it'll be
That's
nice.
how you know you made it, cuz once you start hanging out in the Hamptons.
Yeah, I had a lot of explaining to do to my mom and dad. I'll tell you that. They're like, wait a minute, you're not coming home
You're
this
not coming
summer?
to the shore?
I got to figure that out. But I went out there a lot in 2020. I was delivering pasta every Thursday to kind of like stay alive. And I found this place, Amagansett, which is in the middle of East Hampton and Montauk.
Yep.
And it reminded me of where I grew up in Manasquan. And it's a very, sleepy beach town. And I loved it. And I had a friend who hit me last summer with an opportunity to do a pizzeria there in this old pizzeria that had been there for almost 50 years. And I couldn't do it last summer, but this summer, we could. And yeah, we're going to try it out. And it's not just for the summer. We're doing it for a long time, and we'll see how it goes. But
Best of luck with
Yeah.
that.
Best of luck. Honestly, you're gonna absolutely crush it there.
Not a doubt.
Because over there's not a lot of shows in town, and we filmed a Get in the Car episode with Sal out there in Montauk, and it never came out. But in that episode, we were waiting like an hour for a pie from Best Pizza.
Oh yeah,
because he's out there, and like you just see people like driving up, and it's like an hour wait. They're like, okay, like we got nothing else to do.
I'm excited because like I remember growing up on Jersey Shore, and a lot of those experiences. I remember going to Gigi's on Manasquan Boardwalk and Hoffman's ice cream shop with my parents, and I think I want to create those experiences for people now during the summertime, and then becoming a part of the community after the summer too. Because I grew up on the Jersey Shore, and I loved the summer, but I also loved when the Bennies went home. We would call the people Bennies.
Yeah.
That was Bennies would go home.
Bennies?
Yeah, and like that was an awesome time because like people, I grew up there, people lived there, and I think we got a great opportunity to do that out there too. And hopefully at some point in my life we'll be able to open up on the Jersey Shore. But I do think like
I could see Feeney being the one that like really like
we got another one coming in the fall in Brooklyn that it'll be announced this week. So we're excited about a little bit, and it's never gonna be Shake Shack or Chipotle or Sweet Green. It's really what are neighborhoods that we could go into and impact them in a positive way, because I think what we're making, the pizza, salad, Italian ice, we can do that really well and consistently, and it's a great challenge to kind of like build that.
I'll tell you what, you're definitely impacting Williamsburg.
Man, I'm grateful. We love it here. This is our home.
The people love you guys too, for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to just walk around and be proud of where you live. And I never thought I would have a opportunity to like make people happy like this.
Yeah.
Like when people, see you and they're like, thank you for this great meal.
Now you're the celebrity. Now you're the food celebrity.
I'm definitely not, but Missy is, and it's cool. She deserves it. And it's been a good run.
On behalf of us, best of luck on everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show. I can't wait to like show the world like this story, and
I love that.
Hopefully we could like come eat by you guys soon. And
what are you talking about?
We'll do some.
Come anytime you want.
We'll do some.
We'll do a podcast in the back room.
Let's do it. Oh, that's right.
That's right. You guys are only 85% on Resi now. So.
Well, I always have them in the pocket. I always got some reservations in the pocket. You could always hit me up.
Thanks a lot, Sean.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thanks.